He was much older man, and he had been a brilliant military man. He had been a colonel and been very well regarded for his military service, but he had gone blind. And the woman denies that she murdered her husband. She has a history that is kind of puzzling in a way. Okay, um, when he asks her, "Could anything in your background be embarrassing?" She says that she was 16 years old, or told this man that she was 16 years old. She was actually younger, and she ran away from her parents' home with a man. He was wealthy. They went to Istanbul, Cairo, Athens, and um, the thing about that is that starts off on a note that, as Mr. Keene notes, was tragic. And she says, perhaps, but I didn't think so at the time. Okay, that means when she was 15 years old, she ran off with a wealthy adult man. And it's kind of indicated that after that, until she met Mr. Paradine, the colonel, she basically lived man to man. Okay, then when she married him, it is suggested in the film that he married her largely to have somebody assist him, um, because of to help him as a blind man. And um, he was blind before they married, so he could not appreciate her beauty. Now, although it's not uncommon in movie couples to have separate bedrooms, I believe there is a suggestion there that this was not a sexually active marriage. Basically, he married her to have a wife who would help him out. And I also believe that there is a strong suggestion in there that the true love story was not between the colonel and his wife. It was between the colonel and his valet, who was played by Louis Jordan, who was extremely handsome, at least when this film was made, and had served under him in the army when obviously he did have his vision. Okay, now somebody suggested it should be called the Paradine Closet Case, because there is a suggestion in there that Andre was in fact in love with the colonel. We also know pretty early on, although Keene doesn't let himself know it, but it's pretty obvious that Madeleine Paradine was in fact in love with Andre Latour. That was the valet who was serving, also served the colonel. Now, the thing is, at some point, she seduced him, and so there's a triangle there, 2 men and 1 woman, but there's also kind of another triangle of the 2 men, and the woman kind of as the invader in the thing between the men. At one, there's also, there's a painting of him, and she says it captures the blind man's look very well. I believe that Hitchcock used the blindness as a metaphor to describe the real love affair that he couldn't show. That society had to, in order to avoid persecuting gay men, had to be blind to the fact that they were gay or bisexual men. Okay, now, I also think Madeleine Paradine is a somewhat complex figure. I mean, she commits an unspeakable crime. She murders the premeditated poisoning and murder of a blind man, or of anybody, is awful, but it kind of seems even more grotesque when the person is disabled. But murder is murder. But the thing about it is, She's somebody from a foreign country who has bounced around a lot, and she's married to a man who doesn't appreciate her, probably doesn't even have sex with her. She falls madly in love with a bisexual man whose real tendency is toward being gay. And all these things do make her, I think, more complex than a lot of murderers. Um, and I think toward the end of the movie, the judge and his wife have a little bit of a tiff. The wife, who is played by Ethel Barrymore, and the judge is played by Charles Laughton. And I think Hitchcock may have cast Charles Laughton as a judge as kind of his own stand-in, because the two of them do kind of look alike. And the wife is urging mercy and says, "Who needs mercy more than a woman who has sinned?" And she expresses sympathy for this murderess because of the fact that she kind of senses that there is more to the story, and that this is a woman who has been bounced around and was in a situation where, she was in a marriage that was basically